Welcome back, everybody. It is UAP Tuesday here on The Big Thing. I could pretend that I'm happy, but I'm not. Why? Because everything we've been talking about the last 2 weeks, we said they're going to block this thing, and it's dead. The Schumer thing's pretty much dead. And they fought hard, and they tried to, and there were just people within their own party from what we thought was a very bipartisan subject has now turned into be not that. And it seems to be shady things going on to get this thing blocked. And now, there's other people who are coming out and going, okay, you're going to get disclosure the hard way. And one of those things that happened, like right after we went off the air last week, that happened is that the Daily Mail put a report out that there is a secret CIA program that's been going on for the last 2 years that 20 years, that a lot of whistleblowers had kind of come forward to, anonymous ones, but talking about how this program exists and that there is a reverse engineering program and that there have been ships recovered, some intact, some destroyed. Technology is out there in general. And whether or not this stuff is real or not, a lot of people are reporting on it, but whether or not it is real or not is the stuff that if there is this type of disclosure of stuff that is indeed real, how dangerous is this? Because on the disclosure plan that they had, there was kind of a layout of what can come out, doing it responsibly to where you're not giving up potential classified stuff that could hurt national security. If it's balls to the wall and people are just like, we got to get this stuff out now, this is the only way to do it. Is there going to be stuff that comes out that maybe would never have come out? Yeah, there's going to be a lot that we're going to talk about here. We're going to go over really the two things that we're just going to talk about is this secret program and the bill, the ups and downs that the bill had. And it looks like if I'm Tim Burchett, I'm getting more and more disappointed every day because the people I thought were on my side aren't even on my side anymore. And if people are trying to get him thrown out of his position, he's got to be really bummed right now. So we'll get into that. If you're brand new to the show, you've never been here before, please, right there, you see that thing swirling around? That's the subscribe button. Hit that. Help us get to, we're trying to get right now 200,000 subscribers. Anytime we put the show up on Tuesday, bunch of new people come in because they want to talk about this thing. It is important to talk about, continue to talk about there. This week, I did see a lot of outlets that normally don't cover. We're covering it, but we want to make sure that more people are talking about it. So again, be part of this. Hit that button. Be with us every week. Help us get the word out even more so. So Patreon, patreon.com/thebigthingshow, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those things and more. Thanks for joining me. It's myself. It's Mark Reilly. It's UAP Tuesday. Let's do it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to The Big Thing, UAP Tuesday. It is myself, Kristian Harloff, and Mark the Odious Reilly. Hey, you look like I do right now.
Yeah, I'm pissed.
Yeah, it's
Give me a little
buzz, little in, little out. Hold on.
There you go, like that.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not good, man.
it's really not. It's unfortunate to see, and you were mentioning up top the bipartisanness, and it's really not there.
Yeah.
A couple of Republicans apparently trying to block this thing.
Which is crazy when you had the Republicans who were kind of running it. They were running.
Well, you have a ton, and I'm not singling out Republicans saying you damn Republicans. No, there's a ton of Republicans, Burchett, who are trying to get this through.
Luna.
Yeah. And then you have a couple that are torpedoing it.
It's crazy because like that was the one because it's crazy and it's not crazy. As we mentioned last week on the show, when you see that some of them are funded by the people who want you to be quiet and who are rumored to be publicly funding this thing.
Lockheed.
Yeah, Lockheed.
Yeah,
it's like
the ones that apparently have things to possibly be transparent about and show off or at least be transparent. That's all I'm asking. But yeah,
so
we'll get into it.
Yeah, for those people, and one of the things that I do see, like I said in the beginning, where I'm so grateful to everybody who's coming into the show that's new, is that I see a lot of things that people going, hey, I found this show and like I'm not as caught up on everything. So can you guys give us kind of a breakdown of everything as opposed to me hearing this like for the first time if ever? And I think that's more than fair in the way that we'll do it. And for other people who are tuning in for the first time, also understand this, because I don't want to say this every single show because I do feel like it gets repetitive, but for newer people, because I see people come in sometime and they go, oh, these guys aren't like experts on it. No, we're not at all. We're trying to represent is the audience or the population of people that should be learning about this topic more, that it should be covered on the news more, and they should be hearing about it and discovering it like, today, tomorrow, yesterday.
Right.
Like,
we're there every person.
that's the goal of this. And look, as we talk about it more and we become more informed, of course, it's very similar. Like, so for people, again, who are brand new to this channel or don't know me that well past this, I ran a channel that was, we still do movie reviews and things on this channel, but I ran a channel for a long time with a friend of mine, Mark Ellis, called Schmoes Know. We started that channel as just average dudes reviewing movies, watching movies, and eventually, we became certified on Rotten Tomatoes, and we did all these things. And yes, we became more like we understood the business more and had more of the terminologies and things of that nature. But we always kept that feel of just guys who go and watch movies, and it's the same thing with this.
Yeah. And the more we get into this, the more we learn, and the more that we can grow with you and the audience. And you can call us out and say, hey, it's actually this. We will learn from that.
Yes, links. People post links all the time.
Absolutely. Sooner or later, the aliens will hear about us. They will take us. They will educate us, and they will drop me back in a husk of my former self.
Fair. I think they took me last week. I might have just been a good edible.
Yeah.
Either way, look. Let's start with the report that came out last week with the Daily
that's
Mail.
the big one.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
So this is from the Daily Mail, but this one comes through from Mint, but it's a report off the Daily Mail. Secret CIA team retrieved several UFOs from across the world. At least 2 have been found intact. The United States of America has reportedly been undertaking covert missions to recover unidentified flying objects. At least 9 non-human crafts have been collected thus far by a secret team of the CIA. The Office of Global Access is believed to have found at least 2 UFOs in undamaged condition, according to a report by the Daily Mail. The U.S. intelligence agency has a system that can discern UFOs that are cloaked. Special military units are dispatched when such vehicles land on Earth. The publication quoted unnamed sources who were directly briefed by members of the Retrieval team to underscore its assertion. The OGA reportedly comes under the CIA's Science and Technology Directorate and works in tandem with special operations forces such as SEAL teams to carry out the missions. The assertion comes mere months after former Pentagon intelligence officer David Grush told Congress that the American government has been hiding evidence of crashed UAPs and alien biological specimens. I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash revival and reverse engineering program. I made the decision based on the data I collected to report this information to my superiors and multiple inspector generals and, in effect, becoming a whistleblower, Grush testified in July. Meanwhile, a recently released NASA report said it had found no evidence that UFOs were extraterrestrial. It is increasingly clear that the majority of UAP observations can be attributed to known phenomena or occurrences, NASA's 16-member expert panel wrote in its report. However, the panel also concluded that the ability to study UAPs is hampered by poor data collection and a lack of uniform standards, which must be remedied if research is to proceed on credible basis. The top takeaway of the study is that there's a lot more to learn. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson said in a public remarks at the agency's headquarters in Washington. Okay, so that's kind of the brief overview of the report itself. The Daily Mail kind of went into depth on this a little bit more. We read that. You and I spoke maybe 15 minutes after the Daily Mail dropped it, and it's you kind of went back and forth on how you felt about it, right?
Yeah, I was skeptical at first. And then I laughed at myself because I'm like, I don't know about the cloaking thing. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, UAPs that could possibly, I'm talking about it myself, saying interdimensional travel. And it's like, okay, yes. And we even have the technology ourselves. So somewhat.
Yeah.
I think sci-fi movie immediately. So why not? Of course it could be. my skepticism is still there, because it is hard when you say sourcing, and it's the same kind of thing when Grush goes in front of the Senate and he says, I know this from this person, his sourcing, and people go, well, I need that person to sit down and tell us face to face, or in front of Congress or something, and I get that. It's healthy skepticism. But I always go back to where there's smoke, there's fire. Mm-hmm. And there is a ton of effing smoke everywhere. With this, with Grush, with the whistleblowers, with Graves, with everybody coming forward in that Senate hearing. So I tend to believe this. I tend to lean towards, something's going on.
I do too, because of the fact that the reason why it came out.
Right around the time that we're hearing this thing might get killed in Congress.
That's why, because I think that people are getting so frustrated on the side of, we just want the disclosure out there. The world needs to know about this stuff, and then clearly, I always quote George Knapp, where he said this in that doc, where he said the people who have been hiding this are better at their job than we are at ours.
Yeah,
because they know how to do this. They know how to cover it up. They know where to spend the money to shut people up, and it seems like they're doing it again, and they're able to do it again, because this is the one thing I did see from a lot of skeptics last week in the comment section, and I repeat it for those who are joining. This bill, just to reiterate real quick, and we'll cover it more in depth in just a moment, there's a bill that Chuck Schumer and other people, bipartisan, wrote up to essentially get a plan of the UAP disclosure, saying it's that they would be able to investigate, and if there's reports that they could have subpoenas, and they could go out and look for things and all that. And there were three Republicans inside that have blocked this bill. And basically the question is, why? Mm-hmm. Why are you blocking the disclosure? There hasn't really been a real answer, except the fact of it kind of goes against what the DOD does, and if that's the case, but it's not, because they don't have the power to do it. What it is, and then what we found out through Grush's interview and other people, is that one of the guys is one of his biggest donors is
it's Lockheed.
Yes, and so they and who is apparently, if you believe in all the rumors, have been funding a lot of these programs. That's where a lot of this money comes from, is they're not specifically from the government, but outside sources that have been doing this, private companies that have been funding this.
You test a bunch of aerospace designs, airplanes, jets, things that can go into space, you might run into things.
So
right?
Yeah, and and then there's reports inside of this thing that there's potential satellites that people always say, well, how come the satellites aren't picking it up? And is that this report is essentially that there are satellites that pick them up all the time. We just don't have access to them. These companies do.
That makes sense.
The CIA does. So I mean, how the hell do we know? I don't know what the hell they have access to and what they don't have access to. And but the reason again that I believe it is that what I was saying before with the skeptics inside the channel, what I will say is what I saw a lot of people say, and I brought this up last week. If you come here and you go, I don't know, guys, I'm just not on board. We all are asking the same question.
Yeah.
If they don't have anything to hide and they want to know the same answers, and if they also think there's nothing out there, then why wouldn't you pass this bill? Why wouldn't you pass this thing?
Right.
It makes no sense. And it's because, and especially what they said, what Luna said, the biggest pushback, where it's coming from, is the intelligence offices.
Right.
That plays into this report from the Daily Mail, which I brought up the actual report from the Daily Mail, and some of the things. The Office of Global Access, a wing of the CIA, has played a central role in collecting alien spacecraft since 2003. Sources tell the Daily Mail at least 9 non-human craft have been recovered. Secret CIA office has been coordinating the retrieval of crashed UFOs around the world for decades, a source told Daily Mail. One source said that 9 apparent non-human craft have been recovered by the U.S. government, some wrecked from a crash, 2 intact. 3 sources believe on those alleged top-secret operations, they told Daily Mail that the Office of Global Access, a wing of the Central Intelligence Agency Science and Technology Directorate, has played a central role since 2003 in orchestrating the collection of what could be alien spacecraft. The 3 sources who spoke on condition of anonymity to avoid reprisals have all been briefed by individuals involved in those alleged UFO retrieval missions. Though the shocking claims sounds like they come from a science fiction novel, they are part of a growing body of evidence suggesting the U.S. government could be hiding advanced vehicles that were not made by humans. Former top intelligence David Grush told Congress in the report the same month Chuck Schumer sponsored an extraordinary bill to allow disclosure of recovered technologies of unknown origin and biological evidence of non-human intelligence, which has now passed in the Senate. Sources who spoke to DailyMail.com shed light on how the CIA has allegedly coordinated the secret recovery and storage of these alleged crashed or landed UFOs. They said there's at least 9 vehicles. There were different circumstances for different ones. One source briefed by UFO program insiders told DailyMail.com it has to do with the physical condition they're in. If it crashes, there's a lot of damage done. Others, 2 of them, are completely intact. The sources say that the CIA has a system in place that can discern UFOs while they're still cloaked. And if the non-human craft land, crash, or are brought down to Earth, special military units are sent to salvage the wreckage. Another source with knowledge of the OGA's role said that they specialize in allowing the U.S. military to secretly access areas around the world where they usually would be denied, for examples behind enemy lines. They are basically a facilitator for people to get in and out of countries, the source said. They are very clever at being able to get anywhere in the world that they want to. Multiple sources briefed on the OGA's activities told DailyMail.com that most of its operations involved more conventional retrieval missions, such as a stray nuclear weapons, down satellites, or adversaries technology. But they claim some missions coordinated by the OGA have involved retrieval of UFOs. The task at hand is simply to get it into custody and protect the secrecy of it, one source said. Actual physical retrieval by the military, but it's not kept under military control because they have to keep too many records. So they start moving it out fairly quickly into private hands. Documents published by the National Archives and Records Administration in December 2016 showed that the OGA was one of 56 offices in the CIA, with its chief and deputy making up a total of 286 director-level officials in the spy agency. An unclassified organizational chart published by the CIA in October 2015 lists the OGA among 9 offices in the science and technology wing of the agency. Late CIA expert Jeffrey Richelson wrote in a 2016 book on the agency that the OGA was established in 2003 and cited a CIA description that integrates analysis technology and tradecraft to attack the most difficult targets and to provide worldwide collection capability. A 255-word biography of former OGA Deputy Doug Wolf, published by an aerospace conference in 2017, says that he helped start the Office of Global Access. There's so much in this report. There's so much in this report that really goes over the entire kind of breakdown of all of it. But as I was saying to you on the phone, and you kind of came around to it, is that the cloaking side of it, yes, and they say it in the article, it comes off as science fiction.
Yeah.
But like when you look at what like a stealth bomber does,
yeah,
a stealth bomber, like I wouldn't be surprised if the stealth bomber had elements of things that they learned from,
could be,
who knows. But overall, when this program, like it all makes sense. It all kind of like when you pay attention. I've been listening to that. Have you been listening to that Rob Reiner podcast about JFK?
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It's really good. But when you listen into it, basically the idea of it, no matter what you think about what happened, what didn't happen.
That's a great example to bring up.
He just brings up all of these different things over the course since 1963 of all of the things that have been reported on and little things in the news and all the things that could potentially lead up to what could be the most probable answer.
Right.
If you look at it that way. And if you look at all of this stuff from Roswell and all these different things leading up to this, and in the fact of what is going to happen and what looks like it's going to happen inside of this, as has already happened with this report, is that there's a lot of discouraged people who were very excited. You and I can be discouraged in this because we're following it. We're talking about it every week. And we said like, yeah, maybe we will in our lifetime get it. But people who have their boots to the ground, whether it's someone like at the top level, like inside of this community is like a David Grush and a Gary Nolan and people along that lines, and then George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, all those people who are like really, Russ Colhart, all these people who are really in it. It's got to be super discouraging, but it's also got to be like they put out these tweets, and we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and Jeremy Corbell was like, there's going to be a ton of stuff coming now.
Yeah.
The question is, because you put out a report like this, right? You put out this CIA thing from the Daily Mail, and you and I go, "Whoa, did you see that?" And like the NewsNation and the Hill report on it, and they had some kind of thing on MSNBC. Meet the Press, but it was like the side version of it, and they barely even mentioned David Grush, and they don't even really kind of dive deep into it. And it's like it was on the internet as opposed to like on maybe it was on TV, but it was
on TV. I actually rewatched it this morning on MSNBC, so at least it's out there.
But they missed a lot of core elements, right? It's like Grush isn't really
but
covered.
I think it's because I noticed that they really went. Graves was on there a lot, and the reporting was spoon fed. Is what my point is, and it's because they're doing it sort of with a wink and a smile. Yeah. Hey, and UFOs, are they real? Kind of thing.
Right.
And I get it because you might get people that's like, turn it. They don't want that. So they were kind of just spoon feeding it, a kid's glove kind of report, even asking the main interview, the main reporter, like 15 minutes into the actual segment. It was like a half-hour segment. Do you believe now? Are you skeptic? And he goes, I went in skeptical. I'm coming out going, there's something there. We need some more transparency, which is kind of the heart of it. Right. Schumer even is saying, look, if you kill this, there's a lot of misinformation that can come out of all of this. So what we're trying to do is peel back the veil, get everybody on the same page, which it sounds impossible now because of what's going on here.
Here's another question. And I don't know if this is maybe this is more conspiracy brain than anything else. But do you think, because when they asked Ross Coulthart about why the Republicans were doing this, they said it might be payback for when Burchett voted out
McCarthy,
and that there could be some payback there. Do you think that there's in any way that these particular Republicans don't want to pass this through because they do not want Biden to be the president that disclosure comes under, and they're waiting to see if Trump gets in there, if Trump could be the disclosure president?
I don't know. I think it's more
all politics.
It is all politics. I see it more
cover up
logical that it is, in fact, against maybe McCarthy. I can see that. Retribution, so to speak.
You mean against Burchett?
Sorry, Burchett, yes. And for what he voted against McCarthy to oust him.
Yeah.
I believe that could be possible. I don't know. I don't know if I don't think it's on their radar. I don't think they're thinking like, we don't want to give credit to Biden. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just politics.
Yeah,
I don't
it
trust,
is politics.
When it comes to politics, I don't put anything against past anyone.
No, they're going to politicize everything.
Everything. So.
And this is, I just think that this can really be one of those moments. It's more along the lines of, no, we're blocking this. We don't want to deal with that. Because you want to go a little bit more sinister.
Yeah.
There is something that I perked up in that Rogan interview with Grush, who said, listen, there are a couple mics in the Republican that their donors are a Boeing and a Lockheed, and they're trying to block this. Yeah. That I go,
That makes the most sense to me, too.
That makes the most sense.
Easily. And also the other thing that I think Rogan said on that show, which I agree with, when he said it, I was like, yes. One of the main reasons, when you look at, especially when it comes to these private companies that have been doing this stuff illegally, there are going to be tons of lawsuits and people are going to go to jail. Like tons of people that are going to be people who had very respectable records that are long gone now could be tainted because of the cover up and all these things. So they're trying to keep it as quiet. Like, you can understand that if you're part of this cover up that's been going on for years, that you're going to want to keep it quiet. Hell, again, bringing up the Kennedy assassination, like Burchett always brings it up, and he was like, well, he's been gone since 1963 and is still trying to cover it up. Of course, they're still trying to cover it up. They're always going to try to cover that shit. It's the same kind of lineage, the same program, whether or not you think it's CIA or not that was involved in with Kennedy. Is that if it was, they're never going to go, oh, okay, it's been long enough. Yeah, we got him. No, of course not. They're going to keep it as quiet as possible forever.
Can you imagine if it came out in an official capacity that our own government
I know, right.
was involved in killing its president.
Especially at that time, and they say as much in Rob Reiner's podcast.
Rob Reiner's podcast is fantastic if you look at it, because he does the facts. It's like Kennedy said, listen, he was the peace president.
Yeah.
He goes against the CIA and goes past him and goes to Russia and says, let's figure this out.
Right.
Let's figure this out. Let's take care of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Let's just get past that. He makes the speech. He says in the Oval Office, I'm going to disband the CIA, brick by brick. It's going to piss off a lot of people.
You're right. Right.
And then Oswald, don't even get me started.
But that's a different podcast.
Yep.
But the reason I bring it up is because he talks about at that time that there was it was right after, like, from the end of the mid 40s, from the end of the war, leading up to like that point, you never distrusted the government. And it was the first time that people started questioning the government. And even like when you go back to Roswell and you look at something crashed. Oh my God, there's UFOs. They reported UFO crash. And everyone's like, oh my God. And then the next day, it's a balloon. Okay, it's a balloon. Right. And everybody just bought it because it's like the government tells what they told you. And now we don't live in that kind of time anymore, especially after the fact that you can see people getting lied to left and right. But because there's all this kind of, it's just out there now, and because of social media and because of these different things that are going out there, it's a little scary though, because
it's very scary.
Because the thing for me is that I did like the idea of the disclosure plan of gradually doing it, and I always understood that there's certain things that we should know about.
Yeah.
And there's certain things to know, because not necessarily for people getting scared, but because of what Grush said, other governments working on things. And like, you're going to get to a place that if you're not, careful, people who just want to say, you know what, I'm just going to release this stuff, get this stuff out, and you're going to start seeing things that you weren't supposed to see maybe ever. And, it sounds cool when you hear it, like, oh, I'd love to see that. But it could be detrimental to a lot of different things. And by the way, a little housekeeping. Last week, where we were talking about that video that was with James Fox and meant to say Logan Paul, said Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad. And everybody's like, not Aaron Paul. He didn't have it. He's like, like Mr. White, I found some aliens.
God, I wish it was Aaron Paul.
It would have been great if it was Aaron Paul, but no, it was Logan Paul.
Yeah,
Thank you, people. But all right, look, we got more to talk about with this. We have more to talk about with the bill, which we're really going to get into in a second. But I got to take a quick break and tell you about two of our wonderful sponsors right now. All right, guys, let's talk about AG1. You guys know I love AG1. If you've been listening to my show, you've heard me talk about them, and I've been drinking them for. Never been a vitamins guy. I've told you that. I take it all one shot. AG1. I put it in a water bottle. I shake it up. I'm good to go. I recommend AG1 to my friends. I recommend AG1 to my family. Everybody. AG1 is a team of doctors and scientists. It is tested for 950 contaminants and NSF certified for sport. It is formulated based on the latest science and maintains high quality standards. You guys know they've been with us for a while because you guys know too. You're running around the place and you're sleeping better. I know. AG1 is the supplement that I trust to provide a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/bigthing. drinkag1.com/bigthing. Check it out. Unwrap the first of many presents this season with holidays on the house from DraftKings Casino. With hundreds of games, prizes, promos, DraftKings Casino has everything on your list. Right now, new players who play $5 get $100 instantly in casino credits. What are you waiting for? Cozy up with all the classics like slots, blackjacks, roulette, or play exclusive games that you're only going to find at DraftKings Casino to feel the holiday cheer all along. Download the DraftKings Casino app now and sign up with the promo BIGTHING. Use that code BIGTHING and play $5 to get $100 in casino credits. That is promo code BIGTHING, only at DraftKings Casino. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly, 21 and up. Physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only, void in Ontario. One per opt-in new customer, minimum $5 deposit, max match 500 in casino credits, which require one-time playthrough within 7 days. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/player's choice for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. All right. Thank you to our friends over at AG1 and DraftKings Casino. So every week we have our show, and because we have wonderful sponsors like AG1 and DraftKings Casino, we're able to continue to do the show. So if you're able to support the show, please consider it. I always link our sponsors in the comments, and I put them in the description. All right, Mark, let's cover what the hell's going on here with this bill.
Yeah.
Okay, from the Hill here, this is part of it. And look, there's so many different articles and so many different tweets and everything too that we'll cover as much of it as we can. This is the biggest story that's going on right now. A bipartisan group of House lawmakers made a public appeal for transparency over reports of identified aerial phenomena Thursday after it was reported top leaders in both chambers were attempting to kill legislation related to the effort. Some members have stonewalled our efforts to get transparency, and this is unacceptable, says Anna Paulina Luna said during a press conference that she convened. No one member is above another, and the American people deserve to know as much about the existence in this universe as possible. They certainly have a right to know about whether or not if their safety is threatened, she added. Interest in the UAP sightings has exploded since a July House hearing when 3 former Defense Department officials gave testimony on their experience with phenomena, warning that the sightings could pose national security risk. A bipartisan coalition that includes Luna, Tim Burchett, Matt Gaetz, Jared Moskowitz, and Eric Burleson is a group that calls itself the UAP Caucus, has pledged to bring more transparency to the topic. Included in that effort is a UAP-related amendment in the Senate's version of the annual National Defense Authorization Act, a provision introduced by Senate Majority Chuck Schumer and Senator Mike Rounds. The Disclosure Act would require the release of government records on UAP no more than 25 years after their creation unless they are found to be enough of a risk to national security that they require further classification. The act would also create an official UAP records collection and establish a review board for the office. A version of the act seemed assured to be included in the final NDA as the House has a similar provision included in its version of the massive defense policy bill. Both chambers passed their NDAAs in July and have been negotiating a final version of the legislation. But late last week, there were reports that the House Armed Services, Mike Rogers, Mike Turner, were going to squash the act. The two even appear to have the support of Mitch McConnell and Mike Johnson in their effort. So Thursday they did a press conference, and then at the time of this, on Monday, this was the thing that Chuck Schumer said.
Finally, on UAEs, while it's not related to China, House Republicans are also attempting to kill another common-sense bipartisan measure passed by the Senate, which I was proud to co-sponsor with Senator Rounds as the lead sponsor, to increase transparency around what the government does and does not know about unidentified aerial phenomena. Unidentified aerial phenomena generate intense curiosity for many Americans, and the risk for confusion and misinformation is high if the government isn't willing to be transparent. The measure I championed with Senator Rounds would create a board, just like we did with the JFK assassination records, to work through the declassification of many government records on UAPs. This model's been a terrific success for decades. It should be used again with UAPs, but once again, House Republicans are ready to kill this bipartisan provision. Now we're going to get the NDAA done this year, just like we have for more than 6 decades. But there's still some more work to do.
All right, so that's definitely disappointing, and you can hear the kind of frustration in Schumer's voice. And
Very
then,
much.
If you follow Joe Murgia, who is he chronicles all this stuff on UAPs. I think he was just on Weaponized, I think, last week as well too. He's a great follow on Twitter. He's at the UFO Joe. And he gives a great breakdown on all this stuff about the stuff that we need and just the fact that what he's writing. Okay, one of the things that I did like what he wrote is that someone wrote, Chuck, after basically what Chuck Schumer said, someone said, Chuck thinks that JFK disclassification process has been a terrific success for decades, which basically tells us all we need to know. Real disclosure isn't going to come from this charade, no matter what the language of the bill is, just like the JFK files that we never got. To which Joe responded to, and he said, I think we've received 99% of the JFK files. If that happens with UFOs, I'd be pretty happy. Schumer rounds isn't perfect, but it will help get the ball rolling in a big way.
I agree with that.
I agree with that as well. It's like it's not going to get everything done, but it's going to be
Better than we have now.
this is like the Stone Age of UFO transparency. Because up until 6 years ago, people were like, well, they might, I don't know, Trump, they could be real, kind of shying to the side. Now it's like when you really pay attention to like anybody, the people now that are saying, like, it's the naive people now are the ones going, well, there's nothing in the sky. Because people are telling you this stuff in the sky. People are telling you, there was an argument beforehand that there wasn't anything in the sky. Yeah,
it's a weather balloon, it's a sunspot,
right.
It's a whatever.
Right. President Obama said there are things that we cannot identify in the sky. There are things that we don't know what it is. Now, for people going, well, it's foreign aircraft. You don't think that they're going to be on that like stink on shit,
right,
to find out who's got what, and how the hell we can get to that thing?
You would hope so.
Yeah, it's like if they know, like, well, look, we think that if it was the Russians or if it was China or if it was anybody, they're like, they would say, they have a type of technology that we are trying to pay attention to, and we don't know what it is, and we need to have a meeting with the world leaders. So it's like and it's something like that, and where you have all these people because you can't catch it, and you don't know what it is. And if you did, if you had all these programs and there's things that are out there, you want to keep it quiet, and that's what's happening. They're keeping it quiet overall, but as I said, now it's more and more people like are asking questions, and I still do have, and I'm sure you do too, where people are like, oh, they don't exist. Well, yes, they do. We just don't know what they are.
Yeah, we're not saying they're aliens. I mean, that's.
At this point, I am. At this point, I am.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I am too.
Yeah, but
because it becomes this. You're relying on the Martians are coming.
Right.
That conceit is so. Right up there with Sasquatch, dragons, wizards, blah, 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 blah,
right.
blah, blah. I've said it every show. What are they, though? I mean, we don't have to say they don't necessarily have to be aliens. Right. If they are China or Russia.
What's the disclosure of what just don't that's what I said earlier to where I talked to the skeptics here of saying, okay, fine. It's not interdimensional. It's not aliens, but we just want to know
what it is
because
that's
the
it.
People who the reason why they're not saying okay, sure, because normally what they would do, like they did back with Project Blue Book and all those things, like yeah, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna put this committee together. We're gonna give this committee together, like they do with the AARO or whatever. We're gonna put this committee together, and what'd you guys get? Remember what we told you to see? Oh. We got a balloon, a weather balloon in Roswell. We got this. Oh, there were no planes, but people saw some planes. Oh, there were planes, but it was a training exercise. What about the thing over at O'Hare National Airport? Nothing. We didn't see anything, but people saw some. Oh, we saw something, but it was a weather thing. So just tell them that kind of stuff. And now you can't do that with this committee that Schumer and them are trying to propose because that's the whole point of the committee. It's to say, no more of that. We want to do our investigation, not you guys. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Block that immediately. We're going to pay more money for you. And by the way, the other thing we want you to do is make sure, no matter what, we need you to get Burchett out. You got it. So they're trying to, inside of his own party, there's that guy, the same dude, Mike, whatever his face is trying to get him, Burchett, out. And why do you think that is?
They don't want to share their secrets. They don't want to share. They have something to hide.
Yeah, no shit.
And that is what's going on. And listen, I've seen enough with my own two eyes. I really have now. These videos that came out, the ones that are put up on these websites by the government, covered it a few shows ago. You can go and look. They have been declassified, I guess you want to say. They show something that absolutely bends all the laws of gravity I've ever seen.
Right.
You know? flying across. I've seen. I've been on record many times saying I have my own experience, but the videos that I've seen, in conjunction with what I've seen, I have enough to go on that there is something up there. Aliens, I don't know. Martians, I don't know. Interdimensional beings, Russia, China, I don't know.
Right.
Just let's talk about it. If you don't know, then say it.
Didn't say it, but
That's what we always say.
So we just spoke about Gary Nolan before. Here's a tweet that Gary Nolan wrote about all this going down too. I've been advocating for greater transparency around UAP for over a decade. Now, Senator Chuck Schumer and Senator Rounds, in a bipartisan fashion, are pushing through an unprecedented bill that will bring it all out into the light. House Intel and Armed Services are trying to block it. The UAP amendment would create an oversight committee of public hard scientists, economists, social scientists, religious leaders, and ethicists to look into this issue. This is what we said. If there's nothing to hide, why are the aerospace companies and the DoD trying to kill the bill? Shout out to Representatives Luna, Gates, Moskowitz, Burchett, and others in the House for their work on this. This is about the science and the right to understand. Anyone with an interest in good science should advocate for passing of this bill.
Yes.
So
Good science. That's great. That's perfect.
It was.
That's
So-
exactly what I would love to follow the science on this.
Right.
Because the transparency is one story, then you have to back it up with science, I believe. If you pull back the veil and you get some scientists and you get some minds in there and you go, what is this? I don't know. I mean, that's what NASA did, essentially. And, the mainstream media covers it. There's no aliens. When NASA didn't say that exactly. They said, we don't really know what that is.
Right.
We're ruling out extraterrestrial right now, but we don't know what that is.
But the other question is this, and this is another tweet from Tom DeLonge, right, who says, why is this not front page news? The Chuck Schumer. This is Chuck Schumer, senior majority leader Chuck Schumer, who's tweeting on this and talking. This isn't some lunatic who's
I know,
and it's not covered anywhere. That's weird.
It's because if there was a mention of Trump in there, that would be probably covered.
No, it probably wouldn't because it had UAP in there. It's not being covered. It's weird, dude. It's the same thing in the way that I
just don't think people freaking want to believe it.
No, it's not just that. There's something else there because there are other things that they cover that people don't believe or they think that's lunacy or they think that's crazy to report it in a way of saying the Senate, the majority leader tweeted this out. If you're sitting, because look, as much as there's two reporters on the Hill and the woman is always the skeptical one and she kind of still does that thing when she's talking. She's like, I don't know, but she's covering it.
Yeah,
she's covering it.
That's good.
I don't like her take on it, but I respect her for covering it. She covers it all the time and talks about it all the time. If the majority leader tweets this out, how in the world are you? If you're like Lester Holt, are you not covering this? If you're if you're on whatever it is, I'm not telling you to believe it. I'm telling you to cover it.
Right.
Because it's hey, did you see what the majority leader just tweeted out? There's some bill that's really important as far as this UAP stuff. I don't know what it is, but we should be covering it. Because the other reason is, the argument could be, well, no one would watch it. Bullshit. When you look at NewsNation, they post little clips of the stuff going on in the world and whether it's the election, they're doing the primaries right now, and it's not pulling dick.
Yeah.
Every time they post a video on UAP, it's 7 times the views that they normally get.
Right.
Imagine if one of the big outlets started covering it, they would have 3, 4, 5 times the amount of views. It's not that. There's something else nefarious going on with these networks. There's something else nefarious. There's no other explanation. It's ridiculous.
I don't know. I don't think they believe people want to know these things. Maybe I think there's a million reasons.
Dude,
that
there's
you
no
can't
way.
Even,
There's no
I don't
way.
know.
Then they shouldn't have their job.
Yeah, I agree.
They should. And I'm talking respected reporters and everything too, who you can look at it and you can say, look, man, there's like I said, if it was just a bunch of people and nothing against Stephen Greer, but if Stephen Greer's out there as Stephen Greer had a conference and he said this, but he says that all the time. What books he's selling? I get it.
Yes.
Did you see the freaking tweet that Schumer just put out?
Yes.
What is it? It's about this bill. They want transparency. It's a story.
It's a story. It's the biggest story of my lifetime. One of them. But, I mean, if you would have told me at 10 years old that our government is trying to pull back the veil on what's up there,
right?
I'd say you're crazy. I'd be scared too because I'm probably 10 years old. So let's move to 15. Okay, 15 years old. You tell me that I would say you're crazy.
Yeah, I love what this guy did though. This guy, Mary Misanthrope, who I'm sure is not the only person that did this, and I think everybody should do this.
Yeah, tagging all the.
Why is this not front page news? And he tagged Washington Post, New York Times, Chicago Tribune, L.A. Times, Miami Herald, Seattle Times, SF Chronicles. Like what are you? I mean, this is nuts.
So it is part. It is okay. I'll put on my conspiracy hat. It goes down to probably some of these major news organizations are owned by certain people.
That's exactly right.
That goes right down to the no, don't do that. Don't do that.
That's what I'm saying.
We want to squelch this. They don't want us to fucking know. I'm sorry. Pardon my French.
It's nefarious.
It is. It feels nefarious. Whether it is or isn't, it probably is. But it feels it because every time something. I mean, yeah, you keep saying it. Now I'm getting pissed.
Yeah.
You have Schumer out there going, "Hey," and nobody's like.
Because here's the thing. If it's a crazy person, then it's Schumer. Schumer's lost his mind. Right. Schumer's crazy now. He's tweeting about UFOs. He's trying to get
then
UAP.
So is Burchett. And so is all the different people that are in there doing this.
And if he is, how is that not a story?
I know.
How is that not a story if like the majority leader is tweeting about this stuff? How do you not say, like, they have little side stories. A cheerleader broke her foot and then came back, and now the whole high school is now has rallied behind her because she's still able to do a cheer on one foot, and they do that story. Yeah. They do it, and they don't do this. It's like cover it for 5 minutes and say, "This is what's going on in the world," just to let everybody know it is weird that they're not doing it. I'm not telling you to report it as if it's factual or real. I'm telling you to report it because it's going on in the freaking house.
Right. Just the fact that Schumer is on Twitter saying this is news enough.
Yes.
I think there could be nefarious reasons. I also believe in conjunction with that, there are a ton of people out there. I always bring up my wife. They just, it doesn't even register to them.
But why do you think that is also?
Because the media doesn't control. They don't
cover it.
Yes.
Because for her, your wife, when she says, "Oh, me and Kristian are covering this today," she's like, "You nerds," right?
Right.
And she doesn't follow for
doesn't
that.
Look into it.
And then when she sees it on you watching it on like YouTube or something along those lines. But if you're watching the news with her and it was the leading story that they were trying, she'd be like, "Oh, wait a minute, this is probably getting a little more real now."
Yes, exactly.
It should be the lead story on, and again, not to have people saying like, we clearly feel passionate about what's going on. But for you guys who are tuning in for the first time to try to figure out what is all of this, and then going, "Hey, this is what's happening in the world right now. This is what's happening in the house right now." Like, and I know some people are going to go, "Well, there's other things in the world that's happening." Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But if you watch the news programs, they cover the war that's going on right now, and then they cover a few other things. This should be one of those other things. It's crazy. Like, you can't look at this after Chuck Schumer posts this out and not say, why aren't they covering? Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope when I go in tonight to watch the news that it's covered, but I'm pretty sure it won't be.
Yeah, I go to ABC World News. I watch it every night. It's one of the main sources of my news. Yeah. And when the hearings happen, it was a 30-second mention at the end of the program. Why? I don't know. Right? It just becomes this thing. I think it's hard to convince people to take this seriously.
Yeah. Well, look,
all the way up the totem pole, right to the top.
Yes, and here's another. This is speaking of NewsNation, who is covering it, and they cover it off of you.
And that could be because they found their bread and butter, and good on them for making some money on it.
It's probably both. It's probably both, and the fact that they're one of the only real outlets that are actually covering it.
Yeah,
they've seen results on it, but now when you really dive into it and you're finding out this information, you start to form an opinion on it, right?
That's all I want is people to just get to make their own opinion on this, whether it's like the eye test.
But that's it. But listen, So as I just mentioned, that reporter on the Hill, that she doesn't believe in it. You can tell she doesn't believe in it, but she reports on it. She has the conversation about it. And then you have the other guy who's starting to kind of come around to it and say, well, yeah, there's a lot of kind of crazy stuff. You don't think out of all the employees at CNN, Fox, all these different outlets, there's not 5 to 10 people that are going, I wonder what's going on out there. And they're not reporting on it because they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to report it. They're not allowed to talk about it. They're not allowed to talk about it. And this is the report over at NewsNation that I want to play.
Okay.
No mainstream media is covering. Just within the last couple of hours, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has been pleading from the Senate floor that lawmakers do not kill his amendment requiring the U.S. government to tell you what they really know about UFOs. You have to wonder, why is there such a fight for lawmakers to kill this bill? And it's all developing right now. What do they not want you to know? Right now, we're really at the precipice. We'll know soon whether or not this bill survives or dies and whether the American people will get to learn the truth about all of this. Joining us now live from the Capitol, who's been following all of this, is NewsNation's Joe Khalil. Joe, tell us the latest.
Yeah, Brian, so in some ways, this is not that surprising, given NewsNation has actually been covering this since last week, that the Schumer amendment to the big defense bill, which, by the way, if passed, would be an unprecedented level of disclosure about these UAP or UFO files that the government has been classifying for years, that it was in trouble. We knew that, and we knew that the sort of push behind its opposition was a group of House Republicans, specifically those within the Intelligence Committee. That's what our sources had been saying. But what is surprising is that Leader Schumer brought this to the floor today and chose to make it one of the big subjects that he talked about, addressing the entire country and the Senate. And I want to, before we go any further, give everyone at home a chance to hear exactly what Senator Schumer had to say. So, Brian, there are every day hundreds of fights that go on behind the scenes here on Capitol Hill. The fact that Leader Schumer has now brought this to the forefront indicates that this is no longer going to be something that is being handled behind closed doors, but rather we're going to see maybe a more public posture and people who are working on this issue come forward more in the spotlight to sort of hash out their differences here.
Yeah, certainly very telling that he was talking about it today from the Senate floor. Came as somewhat of a surprise, like you mentioned, with everything going on in the world, that he brought that up today. Shows how intense the fight is getting. Yeah. What I can't figure out, Joe, is why is there this group of lawmakers fighting this so hard? I mean, it just makes you wonder if there really is something that they know about that they don't want the American people to see.
So that's a really good question. It's one that we've tried to get answers to. Last week, we spoke with the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Mike Turner. He basically only gave us one response to one question and then sort of walked away, and that was the end of it. We've been trying to email and text because essentially what the amendment does, I mean, it's 64 pages or so, so it actually accomplishes a lot. But in a nutshell, it uses language we've never seen before. It actually says in the text of the bill that it would require disclosure for all records dealing with, quote, non-human intelligence, which is something that, you know, if you just on its surface, it sort of blows you away that that language is in this kind of text. So if that theoretically is just bogus and there's absolutely nothing there and it's crazy and conspiracy and all of that, you would assume that passing that bill wouldn't really have any harmful effects. It would accomplish nothing, right? So it does beg the question as to why there is such strong opposition to it and why so many people who may be leading that opposition won't answer the question of why they're opposed to it. We heard Chairman Turner tell us that he felt like the language was poorly written and he didn't think it was going to pass ultimately, but didn't elaborate as to what in the language was poorly written or specifics that he had issues with. So that continues to be a question. And again, I go back to the fact that Schumer is now talking about this publicly. Maybe some of those disagreements will happen out in the open, and we can have a more transparent discussion about why people are opposing it and why they're not.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
come on.
And listen, so this is what I'm talking about. Like, so that's a report from like NewsNation. They're talking about Imagine that every news outlet was having that conversation.
Yeah.
That exact conversation.
That would do a lot to
lot.
move this forward, because you'd get more people that are watching this thing.
Yeah.
There would be more people that will possibly change their mind. Maybe there'd be more people that would add to their skepticism. I don't know. But if you get people that are knocking on the door, calling your senator, going, wait a minute.
What is that?
Wait a minute. What is this?
Just pass it. It's
Just pass it.
Just pass it to say, like, as they said, if it was so silly where they're like, oh, yeah, they want to find non-human bodies. Okay, go ahead. Pass it.
Yeah, nothing to hide.
Go ahead,
Fine.
Schumer. Put your reputation on this thing. Go ahead.
Correct.
Go ahead. And the fact that, and then it's telling. Hey, Mike Turner, what is it? Oh, it's the language. It's terribly written.
So what is that
it?
language?
See you later.
Yeah,
And
it's
like,
stinks.
we got more to talk about with that for sure. I want to get into it, but like I said, I have to bring up. We got two more wonderful sponsors that I want to tell you about. Here we go. Santa baby, season for a fresh cut. It's finally here, guys, and it's a sponsor of today's show. It's Manscaped. You guys know I love Manscaped. You guys know I love Manscaped, and you should love Manscaped because I've been talking about them forever. They are the leaders in below the waist grooming, and they have just launched their 5th generation performance package to help you avoid another silent night in the bedroom this year. Take care of your special snowflake with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra and watch your South Pole shine like never before. That's right, baby. Let's get into it. Get the best stocking stuffer of all by going to manscaped.com. But you got to use that code BIGTHING for 20% off, free shipping, and your Mrs. Claus will thank you. Manscaped, it's a one-stop shop for all your holiday needs. They have the perfect gift in the Performance Package 5.0, and it includes a lot of perfect stocking stuffers. Get this for someone that you love. They have so many great things. I use the Weed Whacker. I love the Weed Whacker. It's a great gift for your pops. Nose, ear hair. It's amazing. And how about boxers? Yeah, they got boxers. Take care of your chestnuts with Manscaped Boxers 2.0, featuring their signature jewel pouch to keep you calm, cool, and collected. Get 20% off, free shipping. Use that code BIGTHING, manscaped.com. 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use that code BIGTHING. Say ho, ho, ho to a well-groomed mistletoe with Manscaped. For creators out there, a lot of different creators out there. And I want to tell you guys about Kajabi. I want to tell you about them right now. I'm excited to tell you about them because if you didn't know, I think, look, I've been doing this creator thing for a long time. And what everybody strives to do is you want to be able to make enough to earn a living doing what you love. So Kajabi makes it easy, actually, to diversify your revenue. You can build your own brand. You can turn your audience into customers. Now, with the disruption of revenue streams from algorithm updates and product changes, if you're a creator and you don't use Kajabi to diversify your income beyond ad revenue and brand deals, you're leaving money on the table. And this is very true. Look, I told you, I'm planning on making a move. This is like this is my family, man. I'm everything. So this is something great. Earning a living directly from your audience is one of the most sustainable ways for creators to build a business. And you don't need a huge following to do it on Kajabi. You just don't. Creators and entrepreneurs value full ownership and control over their brand. With Kajabi, you have 100% autonomy with free customizable templates that you can make on your own, even if you're not tech savvy, and you keep what you earn. You don't have a huge audience, doesn't matter. You don't need it to make a sustainable income. There are thousands of creators on Kajabi making 6 and 7 figures with less than 50,000 followers. Try Kajabi and join the creators and entrepreneurs who have earned over $6 billion. Right now, Kajabi is offering a 30-day free trial to start your own business if you go to kajabi.com/bigthing. KAJABI.com/bigthing. Go to kajabi.com/bigthing and earn more doing what you love. All right, thank you to our friends over at Manscaped and Kajabi. As I said before, if you're able to, please support the show and check out one of our wonderful sponsors today. All right, yeah, so it's like the mainstream coverage of it all, and it even says no in the start of that report, nobody's covering this thing.
Yeah, why?
And it's like, it's so bizarre because if you had that conversation with all of the outlets, if you imagine if you just have two of the anchors and they're going, again, they're skeptical, but I got to ask the questions, like, what are they trying to put it? If ABC, NBC, Fox, all these places were covering this and putting it out there with that exact same conversation, like, that's going to get people going, oh, it's going to get the word out there. It is. How do you not think it's nefarious that they're not covering it? It's free. It's
Yeah.
I mean, look, every other day before today. I mean, the hearings one thing. The hearings they covered like at the end of the show, and it's fine. Okay, if you're not covering, okay, but this is again a bill that they're trying to put together at the end of the year inside of this military bill. It's a United States story.
And it is military too.
Yes.
And these things, if you believe them, if you think there's something else up there, if you look at some of the Senate hearings and some of the accounts from like Grave and his squadron, where he sits there and he looks at one of his buddies that he's been flying with for years and years and years, and his buddy looks at him and goes, one of those things almost hit us. That is national security issue.
Right.
That is putting our pilots
At risk.
Yeah. So why wouldn't you want to just go, okay, let's investigate this. If they almost hit a fucking flying drone controlled by a 13-year-old on the ground, tell us.
Exactly.
Okay? Tell us. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it just, I don't know. And there is part never, I wouldn't put it past some of these people to just believe that it's this absolute horseshit, that they believe they are the center of the universe and that stuff doesn't exist, and don't even question it because they believe that we are the only things out there in the universe.
Yeah. It's.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
Look,
it really can make you question your entire worldview, which some people aren't really interested in doing, I would say.
But this should also show you more so how you are not in control. Mm-hmm. You're not in control. Like you're as much as the government's it works for the people. No, they don't.
Not really
at all. It's not really.
Our government now they are run by people that are just in it to win it.
Now, dude, we were just talking about Kennedy.
JFK. I know. Look at
it's like
there's a piece in there about the memo. Remember the memo in that thing where he threw it in his fireplace and then wrote up another one.
Yeah. I want to read. I'm going to read all that stuff. But look, here is this is Christopher Mellon, who's obviously very much respected in this community, responded to the Schumer tweet and said this: if Rep. Rogers opposes having a special UAP committee formed in the House, then all the more reason for him to support the Schumer UAP records review provisions on behalf of accountability and transparency. And so this is why it just does not make sense, and there's something weird going on where it's like you got to have an answer to why you're blocking it. You got to have an answer. Not it's written poorly. What are you talking about? It's written poorly. Well, and as you said, which parts? You don't answer it.
Right. That's
bizarre.
That stinks.
And that is another reason. As I keep going over the same point, if you're watching this show, then you're going to get that. Maybe it's the first time you're going, oh, I didn't know about this. This is interesting. And yeah, why aren't they answering those questions? And if you don't watch this show, and you don't ever know that this thing even happens. Tons of people that we hang out with that we don't know about this bill at all. Yeah. But they watch the news every day. They watch the news and they talk and they follow the main stories. But this is not because if they don't. This is the main reason why. And you said it before. But the reason why to me it's nefarious, because they know if they don't cover it in the main stories all the time, people will continue to not take it serious. And it's not that they don't take it serious. It's that they know wherever it's coming from somewhere.
Right.
Do not report on this.
Yeah. I buy that.
Report on this.
They don't want they don't want people asking questions. They don't want it to spread. Too bad. Yeah, it's spread. It's going.
Don't bring up that Meet the Press thing for me. It was like the side version of the Meet the Press show, and it was like a little segment. And as Reilly said, it wasn't a full on kind of report on it at all. It wasn't even about this bill.
It was dropping on a Sunday.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like, that in itself for me is like they're not taking it seriously. Right. You know, it did feel
Let's get some clicks. Let's get some views.
Yeah, it felt like a wink and a nod. And I said, I said, hey, at least they're shining a little bit of light on this right now on a Sunday.
It puts it out there in general, almost in the same way that like Ancient Aliens did.
Yeah. You know, the Ancient Alien stuff for me just didn't.
No, it was never
ring true. For me.
It was never. It wasn't the stuff.
That wasn't their point.
That wasn't the thing that got me into wanting to ask more questions. It was the people like Ryan Graves and Fravor. And
That's where
people
everything changed. Yeah, changed
that's where
for
it
me.
turned for me. And it's like, and more so now, like I would never imagine in a million years that I would have that Schumer would be up there with a bill. This is the thing he's fighting for today,
Right.
Like today, like that's crazy. And
Which
like,
and
it
if
shows
you
the importance.
Yes, and put it also to some people saying, well, there's other things going on in the world, right? Yeah, Schumer is at the forefront of that. If we're talking about what's going on in the Middle East right now in Israel, Schumer, a Jewish senator, is really fighting for that right now, but also made the time to go out there and say, we need disclosure, we need transparency. This is why I'm sponsoring this bill.
It is getting a ton of support, and people are talking about it online, and like Twitter obviously is ablaze with it for sure. But more people like retweet it. You know, go to Schumer saying that when the time this comes out, it'll be Tuesday morning when this comes out, so people still be talking about it. But like, go find Schumer's thing, retweet it, find that tweet about the and I've retweeted a few from the Big Thing podcast Twitter feed. Find that. Retweet that. Ask people questions like, why is this being ignored? Why is this being blocked?
It's a good question.
It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And again, I'm being very clear here that our intent is not by saying, hey guys, there's aliens out there and you guys need to know that it's real. No, what you need to know is that your government right there, or if you're watching from another country, that a government from another country has potential information about particular craft or whatever it might be, or they don't. But people are saying that they do. And here's an amendment that says we need to find out exactly what everybody knows, and whatever we do, we'll tell the public. So if it's nothing to worry about, or if it's nothing at all, then we're going to let you know. They're not even letting them do that.
Right.
They're not even letting them do that. Why? Why are they not letting them do that? Isn't that a question we should all be asking? We should be asking, why are you not letting them do that? And if you had a full answer to where I could say, look, they asked this dude, Mike, whatever his name was, Mike Face, and they say, hey, what is it? Why don't you want it? He said, well, the reason why is inside this bill, it's dangerous because of this, 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 and this. We don't think that it's right to go at the moment because of this, 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 and this. But to say it's poorly written, and then when asked what's poorly written and you walk away, that's shady, man.
Yeah.
It's shady.
It is.
I don't know, Riley. I don't know where
Tough.
we're at here.
It's disheartening to see that this could be shot down. When Schumer is just saying, I mean, I really stand by just as simple as this. There is a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah.
Especially when you put it on Twitter.
Yep.
Because in the same conversation of us talking about Schumer and the UAP bill and some transparency, the next tweet will be, I was just abducted by an alien and they stuck a probe up my ass. You know, it is all in the same, it's couched in the same kind of thing on Twitter. You can go down a rabbit hole,
Right.
you know, the Grays versus the Blues, and it's an intergalactic war that's been raging for millennia. That's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
But seeing something up there and wondering what the hell it is a little bit easier.
It is. And here's the final thing. Again, this is another report that came through from the Daily Mail that is an exclusive I think it came out in that report itself. But what they say, again, the U.S. military is seeing UFOs in space, and this is an official report. Again, this is a leak that came out through Space Force. U.S. Space Force released a plan to identify and track anomalous UFO sightings. Space Force said the unknown objects disrupt its threat identification mission. The Pentagon branch tasked with protecting America from space-based threats, local and galactic, has detected thousands of UFOs in Earth's orbit. DailyMail.com can reveal. U.S. Space Force, America's newest military branch created under President Trump in 2019, told the personnel this month that the sightings were so regular that they are hindering threat identification, the branch's core mission. While many of the sightings will prove to be man-made space junk and natural debris like meteoroids, U.S. foreign adversaries continue to launch spy satellites like North Korea's new Maligong 1 and the other covert orbital platforms. One new concern Space Force noted the risk of threatening spacecraft hidden in the large unwatched area between Earth and the Moon, dubbed Singular Orbit. In their new report published this month, Space Force leadership emphasized the importance of finding these grave threats among mere hazards like space junk. But the military branch also went into considerable detail on a weirder new category of potential hazards and threats under scrutiny. Space Force's mandate to rapidly identify and respond to threats and hazards, the strategy document noted, also includes objects that exhibit abnormal observables and patterns of life and cannot be correlated to any owner or point of origin. DailyMail.com has reached out to STARCOM, Space Force's Space Training and Readiness Command, which published the new document for detailed clarification on its precise meaning by the terms abnormal observables and patterns of life. In recent years, Pentagon officials tasked with investigating UFO cases, including the now famous 2004 Tic Tac, have focused their attention on 5 observables, saying they are unique features of serious unexplained phenomena. UAPs check off these observables appear to display either one of the following. 1. Gravity-defying behavior. 2. Eerily low observability on radar or other sensors. 3. Sudden or instantaneous accelerations. 4. Hypersonic speeds without signatures like sonic booms. And 5. So-called transmedium travel between air, sea, and outer space. It's unclear from the Space Force STARCOM document, however, whether these 5 established UFO techno signatures overlap with their own abnormal observables. It is also unclear what patterns of life have been detected from orbital unknowns. This is crazy.
That's crazy.
This is a crazy report, and there's way more inside of this report on Space Force. And again, I hate to be a broken record. How is this not everywhere? That this is a document by Space Force.
I know.
And it's leaked.
I know it sounds weird, the Space Force, but it is a legit government thing that was created in the Trump administration.
And so again,
And here we are.
using the same example I just used not 10 minutes ago. All right, I'm working over at, give me an outlet, MSNBC.
Yep.
All right, yeah, the Space Force thing. Okay, I have a source over there. Let me find out this. Hey, listen, we have this report that was leaked. Any truth to it whatsoever that this is a leaked document?
Yeah.
No, you say no, it's not. Would you have somebody, a representative, say what it actually really is and come on the show and do it
Yeah.
so we can just get this over with and do a thing?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. This isn't a few guys who just made up this program. This is an official program.
Yeah.
This is insane.
And we're not
no one
saying
is
it's
talking about this.
And we're not saying all those thousands of things that they're saying.
They're
They
not
break it
saying
down.
that.
They're not saying they're all aliens. They're saying that, I mean, and that's where it always gets a little muddy because we're talking about things that can be explained.
Yeah.
A lot of them are. Within, like, if you have 1,000 sightings and even one of them that can't be explained, then what is it? Then show us.
That's the whole
And then
point.
the rest are weather balloons and sunspots and Mylar balloons.
But what
Fine.
they're saying inside of this thing is that they have clearly said
Mm-hmm.
there are certain things that are zipping across the sky and that are moving in a way that shouldn't move and are going
We've
into
seen
the
video.
sea and coming out. Stuff that we've seen, just like I gave that example before of the facts and the stories that you continuously have heard over 70 to 80 years.
Right.
They're all here, and this is all stuff, and there's a reason why they have this program, and they can see all of it. They can see it, and they are locked into it. Also lending merit to the fact that they have these satellites that are locking these things down. I don't know, man. It's like more of these reports like this are going to get leaked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always go back to the technology is getting greater. I do believe that we are going to possibly have a shared event. I mean, we already have a few in the bucket that people
Yeah.
have talked about. I mean, on the MSNBC article, they talked about that sighting with 300 people all seeing the same thing.
Right.
You know, but they kind of just, it's just an alien or it's just a UFO. It's just kind of whatever.
Right. And I think that one of the things that the reason why these things are going to get leaked even more now, though, because a few years back, let's say 7 years ago, if you worked on one of these programs or if you worked at one of these and you leaked it, you were worried that no one was really going to have your back. You were going to be looked upon as kind of a loon. You can join a side now when you do this.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do that before.
There's more out there. There's more people out there.
You can join a side now. You can join a place. Yes, there's still going to be people. You're still on the side of there are people that could hurt you bad as far as maybe not. I'm not insinuating physical, although possible, but more so career-wise,
Thresh
right?
is but to be believed.
Yeah, well, certain things that he said is that he's been threatened and some other things, but his career has certainly been threatened. That's still there, but you have more of a community now of people that you're not going to go, oh, that's the crazy guy. That's not going to happen anymore, especially if you have the credentials. If you have the credentials,
yeah.
people are going to go, why is this person now coming forward? And that actually needs to happen more. And I think it's going to happen more, especially
Talking
now
about
with this
whistleblowers,
book.
right? Yeah, I
But
think there will be.
I think there's going to be more of this stuff that the Daily Mail is going to get more of these reports. I think they're going to keep getting more of these reports. And the thing for Daily Mail and NewsNation and things like that, they're also lucking out that these people aren't covering it because they're the place to go. Even though it should be everywhere. It should be everywhere.
And it's unfortunate, too. No offense to NewsNation or Daily Mail, but that's not where people are going.
No. I mean,
they really aren't. And you hear those, you might maybe classify them as the Inquirer, with certain people. And
I
that's
think
unfortunate.
NewsNation is getting more
legit, or at least.
I think so, because they also have people, granted, I know that Chris Cuomo had his scandals and things that when he was from working for CNN, but he's legitimate. He had a legitimate show for a long time.
Yeah,
He's got a
of course he
legitimate
did.
show over there too. Ross Coulthart was the one who broke the story with Grush.
God, I hate that when you say that because of Cuomo. Yeah, then you're going to get people who say, "Well, because Cuomo did X, Y, and Z."
Right,
it's
but
not going to be taken seriously.
You can look at. I mean, they do. They get people who have been out in their luck, but they still have legit careers, right? And there's tons of people who have that stuff on the more legit networks, if you will. But it doesn't take away from the fact that this is something that should be reported on.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm very curious what you guys think. We've talked about it for a bit here today. Please let me know. As I say, we're trying to build this community up. We want to get people in this conversation. We want you guys to be in on it every week. In order to do so, you got to hit that button. Get us to 200,000 faster than we got to 100 so we can sit here. We can talk about it with you guys, have the conversation each and every week, get the word out. Look, we're not one of the big outlets, but if we have to be the outlet for you guys to get the stories of what the hell's going on, we are more than happy to do it. There are a lot of great people out there that are doing it. A lot of people who are actually like I'd always recommend, obviously, Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp's show. They've been in it. They were sitting behind David Grush, for God's sakes, at the hearing. So I would recommend their podcast to listen to. There's other shows that you can definitely get information for people who are really in the know on this stuff too. Ryan Graves, as we just mentioned, as a podcast. We're going to be here trying to represent you guys and your voices of the people trying to figure it out in real time the same way you are. So for my buddy Mark Reilly, Mark, where can they find you?
On the internet at Reilly Around, REILLY Around. See you there.
For me, Mark and I also do 2 shows a week on Patreon. 2 shows a month on Patreon, which is an extra bonus episode. We usually talk about the things that we're going to lead up to the next UAP. We take some questions from you guys. So if you head on over to patreon.com/thebigthingshow, you can join over there. That's really it. Again, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. Thanks for joining us here today. I appreciate you very much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.